Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dynamis Pod. I'm Robert, and today I have on with me Zachary Barcliff. Zach, if you would, introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Zach. I'm the owner of Dad Can Fix It here in Branson, Missouri.
Very nice. So how long have you been working on vehicles, Zach?
I started at a very small shop called Al's Garage out in Lampe, Missouri, which is quite literally the middle of nowhere. I was 16 and I'm almost 30, so I've been doing this close to 15 years now.
When you started in the industry, what did they have you doing over at Al's Garage?
Cleaning, sweeping the floors, doing all the dirty stuff that he didn't want to do. He was a really old guy, one person in the shop. Most of the time he played little pranks on me more than teaching, to be honest.
Right. Have somebody around to mess with, right?
Yeah, definitely.
How long was you there?
I want to say I was there for probably about a year in high school.
So it was like an after type of work that you did there?
Yeah. The only reason I got a job there was because my grandpa taught me how to take apart and clean small engines, so like weed eaters, stuff like that. And after cleaning, they always did better. So I tried doing that to my mom's car in the driveway, and it didn't work. Wound up not starting. We towed it over to Al's Garage, and my grandpa was like, "You better tell him exactly what you took off and what you did." And after I explained everything, he said, "Well, what you did was you scraped off all the sealant between the upper and lower intake manifold, which is aluminum." And he's like, "It's just sucking air. That's why it won't start."
Yep.
Yeah. After that, he offered me a job.
Nice. Figured he'd bring you in and teach you something, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Mine was similar. I tore my dad's vehicle up. 16 years old, same thing. Starter went out of it, and it was a 2-liter Cavalier. So there's a TBI unit on it, and I put the starter back on it. Thought I had everything where it was supposed to be at, and the B+ wire moved on me when I tightened it, and it actually shorted against the starter case. So as soon as I hit the key, it burned that fusible link right up, and we had to do the same thing, tow it over, have it looked at. Guy's like, "Oh yeah, I see what's wrong with it. Who worked on this?" My dad's like, "Well, my son did." He's like, "Well, yeah," he said, "that'll happen." He goes, "It's just fusible link. We'll wire it back up," and it fixed it, of course. But yeah, same thing, similar. A lot of places nowadays that wouldn't necessarily hire in a young kid to come in and do even sweeping the floors anymore, it seems like. So what would you say is your number one revenue source there at Dad Can Fix It?
I really just kind of whatever comes in the door. My biggest profiting thing, probably ball joints or suspension work. It's really easy, really quick for me to do. And, I make really short time of it. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I am very familiar with the 3.6 liter Pentastars, the rocker failure. I've done about a dozen of those. And the very last one that I did, this is the first time I've charged accordingly for it, and had all my margins where they should be. I made about $3,000 in 6 hours.
Yep. My cousin used to do the 2.7s all the time. He worked at Chrysler for about 23 years, and he used to do the 2.7s in his dad's garage all the time and put the water pumps and timing chains and stuff back on them. And that was the same way. He'd do one in like 6-8 hours and make decent money off of it. Way more than he could do at the dealership job that he had, the moonlighting thing. But so you've done quite a few of those, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I actually got that customer because they went from another shop who told them they needed an engine, and then they came over here for a second opinion. I was like, "You don't need an engine for that. That's very fixable." And it wasn't even that bad.
Yeah, sometimes that ends up happening, right? Take it one place and they look at it and they have maybe a different standard that they're trying to follow or something like that. And they're like, "Well, we just do it and we do the entire engine," right? But like you mentioned, a lot of times it's something that can actually be repaired. It's not something that has to be completely replaced like that or rebuilt.
Yeah. I know the GM and the Dodge or the Ram lifter failures. There are people that repair those, but I won't. I can't risk it. Not with how small I am and how early on in the business I am. It's too much of a risk for me.
Speaking of that, how long have you had Dad Can Fix It?
We have been open officially since October of 2023. Back then I was a mobile mechanic, and I finally got to open a shop location at New Year's of this year, 25.
Okay, very nice. What is the most time-consuming jobs that you do there to shop?
Time-consuming engine and transmission replacement. Being one person and doing something like that's pretty tough to do. And I'm actually leaning towards not doing that anymore, for at least for right now. There's a truck right next to me that an engine is hanging right now, and I've had it for 2 weeks. It's a 99 Blazer with a 4.3. World's worst
Yep.
bell housing bolts to get
Vortex.
to.
Yep. Is it a 4-wheel drive also?
Yep.
Yeah, those are pretty fun to do. I remember doing a couple of those engines. They're not the greatest.
No, that's really not.
So in your business, and you said you come from mobile, and then you ended up finding a place to be in.
Yeah.
There at the shop. So what are some of the specialty tools that you found yourself that you had to get and put together so that you could move into mobile or also move from mobile into the building there?
Specialty tools, specifically the Pentastar timing toolkit, obviously. Cherry picker, the engine, the little bar that holds the engine up. What it's called, I can't remember.
The engine support.
Yeah. One of those. My scanner has been the biggest thing, really. I went from using one of the Innova ones that you get at O'Reilly's or whatever.
Sure. Yep,
jumped up to a big boy scanner real quick, $500 topped on Phoenix Plus.
Yep, the tablet with the MCDI box.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I sold one of those to a student about 8-10 months ago now. I had the same thing. It was actually a really good tool.
Yeah. I did a lot of research before pulling the trigger on doing that because I was on the fence of going with the Matco one,
Yep.
Snap-on.
They call that Determinator now or something like that.
I think it's called a Maximus.
Yeah. They must have changed names because I remember the last one I remember seeing was the Determinator.
Right.
I thought that was it's just a goofy marketing name, right? It's just goofy.
Yeah. Yep. But no, I landed on the.
Do you do any programming?
I am not right now. No.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Some of those things end up becoming more specialized nowadays. It's almost like it's not worth doing unless you're getting really, really deep into it.
Yeah. I'm as a technician, and the pride that I have in what I do, I want to learn to be able to do those things, and I want to get good at doing them. But from a business owner standpoint, that's a lot of time and effort and other tools that I'm not super confident with yet. So to me, it's not a smart move to do right now.
A lot of that stuff comes with a lot more liability also.
Yes.
If your internet cuts out like we had happen here just a few minutes ago, or if you have a power surge or any of that kind of stuff, it can brick a car pretty quickly now. So it's almost like it's not worth doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not in a single man show like you're saying.
Right. I've done a couple of bigger jobs, like a transmission on a newer truck, and it had to be programmed to the vehicle, but it really wasn't that bad for me to just tow the truck from where it was to the dealership and have them program it. 1 hour is what they charged me. I think it was like a $75 to get towed there.
Yep. Yeah, and there's no shame in that at all. Places have been doing it for years.
Yeah, and that was something I paid for.
A lot of the places, right, there's a lot of places that I've worked for that's done the exact same thing.
Yeah.
If the job needs to be done, if you got to subcontract parts of it, you have to do it, right? One of the places I worked at, we had a transmission shop that's exactly everything that we took there was usually a rebuild, and we didn't do any internal transmission work for years. So, and we was able to take their warranty and just pass it on to the consumer. And if they had an issue with it, they could bring it back to us. We'd look at it, try to diagnose, see what's going on with it, and get it right back to the other shop. We had really great success doing that, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I
think we only ever added like $200 on them or something like that.
Yeah.
Was the actual markup. It wasn't much, but at least it was a service that we could get for the consumer.
Yeah. I am all like similar with my tire situation. Any customer that wants me to take care of their tires before they come and pick it up, I'm more than happy to take it down to the nearest discount tire, and I'll mark it up maybe $40 just for me having to drive down there and back. But otherwise, they get it taken care of. They don't have to set up another appointment, go sit in their waiting room. I've had a couple of people that are just, yeah, go ahead and do that.
Well, it comes down to convenience, right? The convenience factor. If you can help people out and they don't have to make the second appointment, like you said, it's perfect for them.
Yeah, that, and I'm not prepared to spend 10 grand on a set of tire machines yet.
Yeah, or more, because they can get pretty pricey really quick.
Oh, yes. Yeah, 10,000 for the pair is on the low end, for sure.
Right. Are you in any groups, maybe on Facebook or anywhere else, that might be able to find you a gently used one? Because I've seen a lot of guys do that in your situation, where they'll reach out and they'll find some things that are still in pretty good shape. They might be 10 years old, but someplace might have bought a brand new one and they just moved on and have one for sale now?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I haven't asked. I am part of like ASOG and changing the industry and stuff like that. There's really no local Facebook groups for shop owners around here.
Sure. What's the population there where you're at? You in a small town, or you're just outside of a town?
I'm on the outskirts of Branson, which is a pretty big tourist town, but
Sure.
our population is roughly about 10,000. I'm surrounded
How
by a
many
lot of
shops
small
would you say
towns.
are there?
Oh, there's quite a few. I think there's two or three Big O tires at least. As far as chain stores go, that's pretty much it. Yeah, there's a considerable amount. I would say probably more than 10, maybe.
10 shops?
Yeah, at least all the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. That's within 30 minutes of me.
Sure. So I had seen one of your posts. I can't remember where it was at. It might have been in one of the other groups, but you had mentioned, might have been on Jaded's post about mental health with Joshua Taylor, that there were times in your past that you were working at a place that you remembered like taking your breaks and going out to the car and like literally sobbing because of the job and the stresses and all that kind of stuff.
It wasn't just
is
the
there,
job; it was more what was
yeah,
happening at home because I wasn't making a decent amount. It was really more
sure,
about pay than anything else. There was
sure,
the shop where I was at when I was talking about that really wasn't a bad. It wasn't a bad shop. There was one guy, but I mean, it was just one guy.
places, a lot of places have just one guy.
Well, no, I mean one guy that bothered me. There were
That's what I'm talking
three.
about.
Yeah, there was like three techs
Say it that
there.
way. That's exactly what I mean.
He was actually my mentor for quite a while, and he's by far the one person that I respect the most in this field. He is quite honestly a unicorn, and his name is Colt of all things, not Colton, because I called him that once, and he was like, nope.
No,
Yeah. But man, if I could get him to work with me, that would change everything, I think. Yeah. The other guy did everything he could every day to hurt my feelings at least once. Whether it's like
sure.
make a joke. You know how those people like they make a joke to make fun of you and you laugh and they're just sitting there like,
Yeah,
why are you laughing? Like you're trying to brush it off and they're just like
right.
just like high school.
They're trying to figure out. They're trying to figure out why it didn't work.
Right. Yeah.
Because they were doing their best to get under your skin. It just didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a rough time in my life. We were struggling financially big time, and I think I was only making 15 bucks an hour. And that was just a few years ago. That was actually that was right before COVID.
Yeah, COVID did a lot of wild things too.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned earlier about being mobile and going mobile. I did that for quite some time during COVID.
Yeah.
And that was literally the only thing that I could do because I was in a spot where I didn't have a job at that point. I was doing some consulting work for a place and getting their service side set up in their little dealership where they sold used cars. It kind of went south when COVID hit because everybody was scared to death about how they were going to clean the cars, how they're going to continue to operate. Some of the larger dealerships and larger places was able to just send their people home. They kept doing the whole non-essential worker type stuff, and everyone that worked in the shop had to stay. So it was kind of a weird time for everybody.
Yeah.
So the pay thing comes down to, it's market. And then after that, it's like, what does someone want to see you, how your lifestyle is going to be, right?
Yeah.
Is how I've always seen it. Because there are some people that's in the industry that are more than happy to pay you $2 or $3 less on the hour so that they can keep between $40 and $120 at the end of the week so that they can use it elsewhere.
Right.
And I think that's a huge problem in this industry because I wrote an article in 2019 about this same thing. It's like, you don't understand what it is that a technician actually is. And the general public certainly don't, because we have to know all types of information like computer sciences, how to get, codes out of a vehicle, how to diagnose that vehicle, critical thinking skills. I even put in a story, like you have to be able to maybe even take and put things into a 3-dimensional, move it around and, kind of like it's in CAD, but that's what Nikola Tesla used to be able to do.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how he was able to see things, right? We have to do that. We got to be plumbers. We have to go in and there's just a lot, right?
Plumbing,
Like you have
welding,
to be-
electrical,
Yes.
computer, IT. I mean, all of the above.
Right.
Air conditioning,
Yeah, now we're doing communication.
HVAC.
Air conditioning. That was the other one I forgot. Yeah. So it's a lot of stuff that the general public does not understand. And I get into that quite a few times while I teach usually, because I'll tell, like, it's these are the things that you're going to run into as a technician, you know, trying to explain those things and put them in layperson terms so that it's easier for your warranty administrator and also the customer, and certainly your service writer and manager have to be able to know what it is that you fixed on the vehicle.
Yeah.
So it's like it's quite a bit of stuff that has to go through the technician's hands to get the job done and done correctly. So when you're doing any type of diagnostics there at the shop, do you focus on, is it more of a strategy based? Do you have a strategy or a process that you've kind of put together? Or is it kind of like seat of your pants? I'm going to look at the vehicle and I may come at it from any direction. How do you normally do it?
I mean, as you know, any kind of start to looking at a car that you've never looked at before, or, you know, coming in for a problem that most people have no idea. Either it's, you get the response, it's running weird, it's running rough, it's not running at all, there's a light on. That's pretty much all the information we get out of it, no matter how many times we ask. So I kind of fly by the seat of my pants in a way. I start with a diagnostic time of 1 hour minimum to figure it out. Customer's complaint, I write it down, test drive it, verify the concern. I mean, so there is a process, but as far as figuring it out, it's just going along with it. A lot has to do with the experience previously, my experience, as things that you feel, you hear, you smell, all of those senses. Whenever you get into a car, you can tell a lot just by driving it. From, you know, being one of us, that is, I certainly can.
Sure.
I can tell immediately if it's a misfire or a transmission issue just by driving it. You know, then I know
Right.
where to look.
Yeah, a lot
closer.
of times you can.
So
it's like a gathering data points, right?
Yeah.
All you're doing is gathering data points. And if you write them down, that's great. I teach that you should write them down, but it's like as you're moving along through the diagnostic process, you really need to do that.
Yeah. Depending on how critical it is, I have a great memory, but I also use Shopware, and they have an app on your phone where if you start the RO, you can make notes with your phone as you're going. So like in the middle of a test drive, if I need to pull over, make a note, take a picture, I can do that. No problem.
Yeah, that's actually perfect.
Yeah.
That's a really good system. So the last place that I worked that had anything that was decent at all was CDK at a Volkswagen dealership. And we didn't even have the ability to do that. I kept pushing for, why don't we get the technicians iPads? And they're like, well, we've had people that's had iPads before and they've abused it. I'm like, yeah, but you're always going to have that. Like there's a lot of technicians that's in the back that would love to be able to use an iPad so they don't have to look up and keep flipping between the pages on the Otis.
Yeah.
The off-board diagnostic information system. It would be a lot easier if we could scan the vehicle and also have an extra tool that we could use to pull up wiring diagrams on and that kind of thing. But we didn't have anything even like that where you could just take notes kind of on the fly.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a pretty valuable tool.
The app on the phone works really well. Downside to it is obviously from a business owner standpoint, running into employees, playing on their phone, stuff like that. That's a constant conversation from employee to employer. I know. And I actually went and helped a local shop who's now a friend of mine one day. I was super duper slow. He was saying he was been swamped and needed to catch up. And I was like, well, you mind if I come over and help out? He's like, sure. He has the tablets, you know. And I really didn't care for the tablet. I thought it was more annoying than useful, in my opinion. But I was only there for a day.
Sure. Was it because it was too large? Would you rather do it on the phone?
Honestly, yeah. Part of it was the size. Part of it was not being able to put it anywhere safe. I kept dropping the darn thing, and luckily it had a nice case to it. But I was really anxious about possibly breaking the thing. No matter what phone I have ever had, I have always gotten an OtterBox because I am terrible about keeping stuff in my hand.
You must be a mind reader. You were seeing it on my face because that's exactly where I was heading. Yeah. Because that was something that came up in that conversation with our general manager. Was like, well, what happens if someone tears one up? And I'm like, okay, that's a valid point. And they're expensive, right? I think they would put it down as being like $900 back then for like the medium sized iPad. It was like $900 if you tore it up.
Yep.
I'm like, well, make it like $1,100. Put an OtterBox on it. Whatever the cost is, just add it to it. That way, at least you're putting some kind of insurance on it also, so it's not going to be a problem.
My personal household has an iPad just to play with, you know, for the kids and whatnot. We both have iPhones, so I have Apple Care, and I can, no matter how many times the kids break the iPad, which has been 3 times now, Apple Care covers whatever it is for $100. You know, we send it in, they send us a new one. So
exactly.
That is something I would definitely do if I had iPads in the shop, because that's a lot
Sure.
less than $800 a piece.
Way less. Yeah. My wife and I are both on the same exact program just because of that reason. Luckily, knock on wood, I've not broke mine. We're still on phones.
Yeah.
Like that's how long ago it's been since we've upgraded our phones. And I just keep offloading stuff, especially now doing podcasting, because sometimes my phone is one of the tools that I use to podcast with. So it's like I just keep moving stuff and just throwing it. I pay for like 2 terabytes also, but I'm still having trouble actually offloading what I want to keep and separating all of it to put it into that app to make sure it's stored. And then your other side of that is you still have to pay for it for like the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't access it if you don't pay for it.
Yep.
Luckily, it's $10 a month, but that don't, it may not always be $10 a month.
But yeah, I mean,
So
you remember
one
Netflix,
of the other things,
Netflix was what, $7? Now it's 15. Yeah.
$7.99, something like that. Yeah, now it's 15, and you get ads.
Yep.
Which is the entire reason that everybody moved away from cable and from regular television, terrestrial TV. That's why they left.
Yeah.
Was to go and not have to deal with that.
YouTube,
now there's ads on a lot of it.
YouTube used to never have ads. Now are just riddled with it.
It'd be nice if they would share more of the revenue. I think X probably is one of the ones that share the most, it seems like. At least that's the propaganda part of it, is that they say that they do. But I'd like to see them share a lot more with their creators.
What's X?
Twitter.
Well, it used to. Well, okay, yeah, okay.
Twitter.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it used to be Twitter.
I don't have
that.
But
yeah, they claim. Yeah, I have almost every social, it seems like now. I've just now recently gotten on TikTok only because of this. But
I'm on TikTok.
I just went and made my my separate independent X account for this Dynamis Pod.
Nice.
So at some point, I'm going to start putting some of the stuff that we're doing on the podcast will end up over there also. So I've put a couple videos up on my regular one, but I'm trying to break it away from me and put it and make it its own thing, right? Its own entity. So it's hard to do. Do you happen to have any type of oscilloscope, a DSO there to shop that you use? What type of oscilloscope do you have?
Not yet. I ran into a situation yesterday with a Volkswagen where I reached out on. Actually, I think you were one of the people that commented on it.
I was one of the ones that commented.
Yeah,
that's true.
The VW. Wound up getting some really good help from a guy with a weird name. I can't remember his name. But
I seen there was like 5 or 6 of us that started commenting and trying to help out.
Yeah, the one guy specifically messaged me while I was on a test drive, and he said that he could connect to the scanner that I have because he works for Top Don.
That's Hawk.
Yeah, Hawk. Yeah.
Hakan Light. Yes.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Never a random message I saw, and I was like, well, that's cool. So I pulled over, talked to him for a minute, and he was like, here, pull this up real quick. And I was like, I don't know what that is. He's like, okay, sure. Click on that, click that, send me the numbers. And then as soon as I did that, the whole scanner started doing stuff by itself, and I was like, whoa. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, not by itself. That was hard.
Yeah, I had no idea that was possible. That was really cool experience.
Yeah.
But he was talking to me about the O-scope. I'm looking to get one from Top Don. He sent me a person's name to get in touch with, who's, I guess, might work with me on a potential deal for it. But I'm looking forward to getting one of those through Top Don.
One of the former guests here on the podcast, Donald Tyrone, he does some videos for Top Don on tools like that.
Yeah, really?
So he was only on just a couple episodes ago. Yeah, you might want to connect with him also.
Nice.
And it looks like now Bob, which was the first guest that was on the podcast, he has a Discord server that he's running under RMS that there's a lot of guys that are in. You might reach out to him and see if he can let you into the group, because there's tons of information that's being transferred back and forth between technicians that a lot of technicians don't even know about. Like I think Bobby Huntley, he didn't know that it was even out there, and I think he recently got in there. So there's a ton of guys that have done this for a long time. They want to help out. They want to turn around, put a hand out, try to reach back and help the next generation come up through this stuff.
See, that's
because that's
difficult. Great, because
this is difficult stuff.
The technician world doesn't have a whole lot of really moderated groups to have help, any kind of actual help. I've gotten out of most of the technician groups because it's all, you ask a question and 50 to 100 people call you an idiot pretty much right away. And I have found way more tech related help on TikTok than anywhere else. Take a quick video of it, asking a question, and I've made a lot of friends just randomly. Check Engine Chuck being one of them, and he's a very big name out there.
I just posted one of his videos in the group.
Did you?
In the Dynamis Pod group. Yep.
Yeah. He is a busy man nowadays. The funny part about it is I remember seeing his videos and I got stuck on a car and I just thought, I was like, well, let me Google him real quick, see if I can actually come up with a phone number. And sure enough, there was a phone number and I called it and I left a message thinking there's no way I'm ever going to get a call back. There is no way. And like an hour later, he sent me a text and I was like, now, is this really Check Engine Chuck? And he called me and he goes, yeah, it's really me. I was like, oh my God. Like, I don't think you understand how starstruck I am right now because I'm a little nobody in nowhere, Missouri, and you're Check Engine Chuck. He's like, well, that's cool of you to say, but he's like, let's get to the point. I'm busy. What's going on?
Right.
Well, yeah, he's been a lot of help. And
can you remember? That's what I was getting ready to say. Can you remember? Did he end up helping you?
Yeah, he did. For sure. It was more of a technical question of like, I wasn't 100% sure if what I was reading was normal. And no matter what I looked up, it didn't give me a definitive answer. So, and it was on
you remember what kind of car?
It's a Mitsubishi Outlander, older one. Yeah. It was
probably
running
not
weird.
Much information. Yeah, probably not much.
No, I don't do a whole lot of stuff with Mitsubishis and or VWs, really. I am pretty familiar with Mercedes and BMW. I've had quite a bit of experience with those, so I'm a little more comfortable on those cars. But Mini Cooper, I stay away from. VW, I'm kind of trying to stay away from. Audi, no matter what you do with Audi, it's a complete nightmare. So
can be, yep. In the aftermarket, it's really difficult a lot of times to work on those. You know, I used to always call them Euro trash, but it's like once I got into Volkswagen on the inside and I was at a dealership that had the specialty tools, the scan tool that would speak to it, technical, factory technical support was like a godsend, right? You could have 59 minutes and 59 seconds. You could pick the phone up once your service manager signed off on it and you could call somebody. For us, it was in Farmington Hills, Michigan, or it was over in Germany, Wolfsburg. They would pick up and you could actually talk to them on the phone. You could send them logs, data logs back and forth. You could do quite a bit. And in the aftermarket, you can't do any of that stuff.
No, not really, unless you know somebody.
Even doing the oil change, right? You almost can't even do an oil change on a car anymore if you don't have the proper information for something like that.
Yeah. Which is why I love the main one that I use for any questions is the Changing the Industry podcast, because there's both technicians and owners in there.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much, that's the whole point of I call it a movement. The movement of changing the industry is, being able to help one another, because all we're really in it for is to get the car fixed, help the customer, and move on.
Right. Yeah, I teach quite a bit of that. It's like it's about the customer, right?
Yeah.
If you can do a service for the customer and you can make money while you're doing it, and profit's not a bad word, it's like go ahead and do that, right? Because that's the entire reason that we're out here doing this. I always like the satisfaction of being able to fix a job. Like, is it something I can do? Like, challenge yourself, right? It's like a puzzle. It's like, can I figure the puzzle out? And that's why when you were like, hey, you sent this show notes, this is great. No, we're kindred spirits. When we do this work all the time, it's very easy to just pick up and talk to somebody you've never met before, but they have common experiences, right? So the conversation flows. It's very easy to talk to somebody when you've both done the same things. Next question I've got would be, at your shop, do you use any type of FLIR camera, anything like that, to use that for advanced diagnostics at all?
I don't know what that is, so.
Perfect. No big deal. You can actually, Top Don has one too for about $300. I think you can get them through Amazon even, and it plugs into the bottom of your phone.
Really?
So what it does is it actually shows you a gradient pattern through the camera of what temperature things are. So you can use it for all kinds of diagnostics, which is amazing, like parasitic draw.
Like thermal imaging
wherever
camera.
There's heat, thermal imaging. It's forward-looking infrared FLIR.
I was actually looking at getting one by Milwaukee.
Yeah, they make one too. So the one I had was by Amp Probe, so AMPROBE. I bought mine off the Matco truck, and it was about $360, if I remember correct. But it was as nice as anything that I ever had that done that. I'd never had anything like that, but it worked really good.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I have had two situations where a thermal imaging camera would have come in big help in the last 3 days. Two vehicles, a 95 Mustang and a newer Jeep Grand Cherokee, both had situations where the relay was getting super hot, and I only knew that because I was able to feel it and put a fan on it after waiting a few minutes, and I have a little temperature gun from
The laser.
yeah.
Yeah, the laser interferometer
I have
style.
one of those, and it as soon as it got cooled down, everything started working again.
Sure. Did you figure out what was going on with the circuit? Why the relay was getting that hot? Was it just bad?
With the Mustang, no, because the guy was out of town from Kansas
Mm-hmm.
and didn't have time to really stick around. And he
Sure.
was a mechanic also and an instructor in machining and whatnot. So he was like, I know to keep it cool now. That'll get me home, and I'll figure it out there. The other guy is a friend of mine. He's a broke friend of mine who has no money, and I was just helping him try to get the AC working again, which is what it was. So those Chryslers have a lot of tip-em issues, and he was like,
yes.
I told him, like without getting paid for it, I'm not gonna roll into messing with your fuse box, man. No offense.
Not only that, like they were a problem way back when my cousin still worked for Dodge and Chrysler. It was like you couldn't even get them back then, and you had to find an outside source that had taken them and rebuilt them. It's the only way you could get any of them.
I didn't know that.
So the truck that I just worked on, that I did the last podcast on, the Solo, that's what it had in it. It was a reman. The tipping was reman in it because you can't find them anywhere. And his had already went bad, of course. They all went bad.
Yeah.
Much like General Motors had an issue with their BCMs, which is the exact same setup. It was the fuse panel on it also. So it had a computer and a fuse panel and a couple solid state relays, a couple other relays, plugged into it. The solid states were kind of all integrated. So if it went bad, you had to change the entire part, which is a marketing thing, if you ask me. It's like just build it good enough where it's going to last at least 10, 15 years now, because people are driving their vehicles. I got 282,000 miles on my car.
That's a topic we can talk about. What I like to call it is engineered obsolescence.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
It's a curse right now for everything.
Yep, it's planned, right? Planned obsolescence.
Yeah,
they're making everything so it's throwaway.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was growing up, I mean, I remember to this day, my dad used to buy stuff at the flea market or the auction, bring it home, put a couple vacuum tubes in it, take it back and sell it for more money. Like that was what you did. You fixed things, It wasn't a thing where, well, it's bad now, throw it in the trash, we'll get another one. I mean, the price of everything has come down so far. I mean, you can pick up a 50-inch TV now at Walmart for less than $300. So that's a good part of it. But the bad part is like, look how much of this stuff is just being thrown into the landfill all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot. Just ends up being trash, right?
Absolutely. You can only recycle so much.
Right. So the next question I've got is about training. So training in and of itself, a lot of people say that it costs money. I feel like me, I went to a ton of training in my life. I actually like going to training because I get to find out new things that are out there in the world. Like we used to do a new product training at the dealership. We used to do training when I was in the aftermarket. They would either come around and do training at our shops. Like Napa used to do it. Reveal Wholesale back in Ohio used to do it. But also we would go there sometimes at the actual parts store, and they would have a trainer come in and do that kind of stuff. Do you have anything there like that in Missouri?
No, not really. Besides Vision.
Sure. Kansas City.
As far as training goes, I mean, you got your dealership stuff, GM related,
Mhm.
Ford related, whatever. But that's if you work there. Training is very important, but I think also experiencing it firsthand. Yes, there's risk involved, and nobody wants to do a job twice. But man, doing a job twice right behind doing it the first time has taught me a lot.
Sure.
And
yeah, we learn a ton from failure.
That, and you got to be passionate about what you're trying to learn. If you're not passionate or you don't really care about learning it, then you're not going to, I have taught myself way more things by looking at other people doing it, asking questions, watching.
Mm-hmm.
My wife hates this, but I follow a couple of guys on YouTube that just video everything they do during the day as they're working. And a lot of times I'll come across one of their videos. I'm like, I've never seen that before. Ooh. They walk through the process, of how they figured it out, what they did, what they tested, how they tested it. And that's, to me, that's training. That's furthering my education. If I can see someone else doing it, then, I mean, it's kind of like learning it on the fly.
There's a ton of that. Yeah, there's a ton of that out there. Now, I used to call it OJT, on the job training.
Yeah.
So, and we do that every day as technicians as well, because like you just mentioned, like once I was done, I never stopped. Like when I went home, I would read more about the industry. I would read technical manuals. I would go and try to find anything I could on the internet about wiring diagrams. I mean, a lot of this stuff was on the cloud there towards the end, so you could go and actually study wiring diagrams. You could pull them up on your phone. You could pull them up on a computer. You could actually do that while you wasn't at work.
Yeah.
Now, some might say that's crazy, but like you said, if you have a passion for what you're doing and you want to learn about it and learn about new things, it's like that's what you end up doing as a technician most days.
Yeah. I think what I like about what I do the most is not being wrong. Nobody likes being wrong about
Right.
it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
there
no
are
one, yeah,
everybody and their brother can throw a part at it when the internet suggests it, but narrowing it down actually and knowing with 100% of your being that is what is wrong with the car, it's something else.
exactly. Yeah, it gives you a certain satisfaction, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this one knocks a lot of people for a doozy, but it's a good one. It's kind of a two-parter. As a component of the skills gap, do you think the country is facing a competency crisis? That's the first part. Does it especially and more significantly affect our automotive repair industry? There's the second part.
Okay. First part is a competency crisis, skills
There's a
gap.
skills gap, it seems like, out there where we're pushing 2 and 4 year college degrees as opposed to teaching people like they used to be taught by grandpa in the garage by taking apart a Briggs and Stratton, by doing something with electricity, any of that kind of stuff that, everyone used to be taught by the male role model in the family,
Mm-hmm.
the grandfather, right? Like you used to learn those things from, grandpa. We don't do any of that stuff anymore. Now it's rare even that there's not as many trade schools as there used to be. And there's certainly not as many automotive programs, welding, wood shop, any of that stuff, even in high schools any longer.
No, yeah.
All of it got moved into vocational schools and they're going away. So as part of that, would you think the country is facing a competency crisis?
Absolutely. No, I mean, in general and otherwise, yes, absolutely. For the past 10 years, I've seen more and more of social media and everything else in
Sure.
general just look exactly
everybody
like
wants
the
to be
movie
an influencer.
Idiocracy.
Right. Yeah, we joke about Idiocracy quite a bit in class.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, it's everyone wants to be an influencer now, right?
Oh, gosh.
Like that's
Everybody
the
wants
thing. They
the
want to
easy
be
job.
famous on YouTube. Right.
I mean, it's just
and
like,
that's the other part of it.
Back then, I mean,
It's still a
whenever you
job.
were younger, you had the get rich quick schemes, the pyramid
Right.
schemes, door to door salesman. That was the get rich quick.
Exactly.
Now my generation is influencing, and I mean, the more you really dig into being an influencer, the more you see people being outright fake just for the content.
Yes, that's almost all it is, right? It's almost all fake. A lot of it is low quality reality TV, I would call it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like reality TV is not even reality TV. This is more real than anything anybody's going to watch, right? Because we're just two guys sitting and talking back and forth over a lot of internet. I get it, but that's all we're doing. We're just talking about cars, doing that kind of thing, having a conversation. That's not scripted. I have questions I'm asking. I sent you the questions an hour and a half before we talked because I don't ever like to try to throw somebody, hey, I'm going to ask you these things, but by the way, there's going to be a couple gotcha questions in there too, right?
Yeah.
I don't like doing that kind of stuff. I'm not a journalist. I'm not trying to be, like gonzo journalism, like, I can't even remember the guy's name now, Hunter S. Thompson. It's like, I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm just trying to have a conversation with people about the automotive industry. And later it will branch out to more things. That's why I named it Dynamis Pod. It's not particularly just about automotive. It's going to have other components to it.
Yeah, as far as a crisis and everything, like here recently, the thing that scared me the most was the whole Iran situation. And I don't know if that's something you talk about, but that is something that in my house genuinely scared both me and my wife a little bit because we were like, if things go bad, really bad, what are we going to do?
Exactly.
So we had that
and
conversation.
No one has a 100% perfect plan either, right?
No.
Like you could be a prepper, you could be a survivalist, you can do all of those things. But if it were an actual nuclear dirty bomb
Hey,
that
we're all
was let
screwed.
off, yeah, there's not much coming back from that. Especially if it's coordinated attack like 9/11 was, if it's multiple areas, multiple places, and meant to send a message.
Yeah.
Like it's not something that most people are actually even thought of, right? Like it's not even entered into their mind.
Oh, a lot
So,
of
yeah,
people. I mean,
that's a big
there's
thing.
quite a few people that I talk to on a regular basis that have no idea we even hit Iran.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of
true
people.
also.
A lot of people like the ignorance is bliss thing. They don't watch
Yes.
anything that is related politics or otherwise because they genuinely don't care, don't want to know about it.
That's 100% accurate.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of the overwhelming of the populace by those who are in power, because they know they have these tools that they can use now, because they can kind of filter everyone and funnel them into where they want them at, right? They can even go in and change people's thoughts at that point, because they can actually influence them to think a certain way with the marketing, with how marketing works. Like on the inside, like when I'm doing the YouTube videos and all that different stuff on Facebook, they actually have a part of it now that gives you the statistics on what parts of your content that people are watching the most.
Yeah.
So if I would like to pander to the community that is, watching my stuff, I can easily just twist and do something that they like, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to actually putting out something that I'm true to, that I'm passionate about, that I love. I could just become somebody else now, like you said, like being an influencer, be completely fake, make a lot of weird stuff, and, talk really loud, or be a car salesman type, or even a radio DJ
The first thing that comes to my mind is either Mr. Beast or Unspeakable.
Yes.
My kids watch them all the time. Grown men doing some of the weirdest things I've ever seen. And I'm like, can you please stop watching that? Then there's another guy, there's another one that I love, and I just learned that he made his last video. He's stopping it. It's called The Outdoor Boys.
Mhm.
He's a survivalist, and he lives in Alaska. Great channel, great wealth of knowledge from him that he teaches, and it's all with his kids, young boys, and I love that to death. Unspeakable and the other ones, I mean, good grief, the freaking internet again.
You're back.
Okay.
You didn't have to hop back in the studio on that one.
No.
So yeah, the Outdoor Boys thing. I had heard about it. I'd never actually seen the channel, because that's not something I typically, like 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I would have known, like when it started. I think he's been around, 12, 15 years, something like that.
Been around a long time.
I can't remember. It's like Demolition Ranch did the same thing, though. Matt's like, I'm done. I'm out. I got all these guns. I got all this money. I got land.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember watching
it's a
Demolition
lot.
Ranch.
Like, people don't realize. Yeah, people don't realize how much production actually goes in. Like, this is fairly easy to produce, because all I need is like a couple hours, my laptop, and I can use the AI that's actually on this app, and it works really, really well. It cuts out any of the weird stuff. It cuts out, and it actually goes in and does magic audio. So it fixes a lot. And it's come a long way, I'm sure, because I'm sure editing, 10 years ago on YouTube was nothing like it is now.
Well, everything
But
accelerated a lot with AI.
right.
Sure.
And I can imagine running something that had 3 cameras instead of just one, right? Because then you have to actually, you're trying your best to cut and paste and put things together. And one of the things that I really like is, I like movies. I like cinematography, though. I like real, actual good stories, things that are real to people. And the movies, the way that the cinematography goes and how it actually works and all that kind of stuff, I think is an amazing thing, which I get to do a little bit of that in this while I do this, which is fun. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff out there that has definitely accelerated almost at breakneck speed at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite movies is iRobot. Speaking of AI, kind of scares me a little.
Sure. Yeah. I tell students all the time, we're only a couple of years from then, things just locking the doors and take you to the cop shop.
Right. Yeah.
Because that happened in that movie, right? Like, it's, sorry, here's a warrant out for your arrest. We're taking you in.
Yep.
Like, that literally happens in the movie, and people are like, oh, that sounds weird. That's scary. But then they didn't think about it. They just left the movie theater and was like, nah, no big deal. It's like, no, that's actually can be a thing now, especially with Elon starting up the driverless taxis down in Austin. That's their soft open of that kind of stuff. And
Google's had driverless vehicles for a long time too, though.
Right. I've rode in vehicles that would do automatic parallel parking. Like, one of the last Volkswagen classes I ever went to was a new product training, and we trained on that as technicians, and it worked unbelievably well, right? Like all of this stuff does. It works unbelievably well, and that's the thing it's pretty weird about.
It does when it's working. When it fails, it's a little dramatic, though. I mean, you've seen the videos of the steering wheel going like that.
Oh, yes. Yes, I have. So let's see here. How long do you think the certification licensing process takes for an average technician? And then what do you think would be acceptable, like a time frame for somebody that maybe just left high school, maybe they're an apprentice, maybe they did go to a tech school? What would be something that you would think, how long could they be a master? Like, how long before they could be a master?
That is hard to say, because I think it's easier to be a master in one particular area first.
Yes.
But in overall, like, I mean, there's a lot of things. electrical diagnostics now. I mean, air conditioning, front end repair.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know where I'm going with this. A true master?
Automatic trans.
I don't even think I'm a true
manual
master,
trans.
to be honest.
And you've done it about half your life.
Yeah. There are people that I know that consider me a master technician. I don't think I have earned that title yet. I think I'm pretty masterful in certain areas, and I'm very good at certain things. But I mean, I still have a crap load to learn. That's for sure. Especially with things that are, I don't know anything about a fully electric car. I haven't had that kind of training yet. I haven't even looked at one. So, I mean, what can I say?
Is that something that's popular in your area?
Electric cars?
Do you see a lot of EVs?
Yeah. Not like, I'd say about 20 to 25% of cars around me are Tesla or otherwise.
Is it more so because you're nearer to Branson, do you think, or what do you think it is?
Bigger city. There's quite a few locations for charging here, but we're smack dab in the middle of the Midwest, and the cold weather doesn't do well with electric cars. So you know what I mean?
Wyoming,
Yeah,
it's even worse.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just as of a couple days ago, still in June, I mean, I'm running a heater in the mornings. That's how chilly it can get.
Yeah. There's really funny. I was walking out of Walmart the other day, and I overheard a conversation of a couple on the phone with the dealership or somebody, and they were like, I don't think I've ever regretted a decision more in my life than buying this car because it's a Tesla. Or no, not to just out Tesla, but they were like, they didn't like the electric part of the car. Things are going wrong.
Some kind of EV.
Yeah, some kind of EV. I don't know exactly what it was, but they're like, no, I don't like this electric stuff. I need to get rid of it. I want to trade for something else. And you're telling me that I'm, how upside down am I? I've only had it for 6 months.
Exactly.
It's one of those things. So
it's definitely a caveat emptor, right? A little buyer beware, because I mean, a lot of that stuff, some of it's a little more expensive to fix because it's more advanced in many ways than a regular vehicle is.
Yeah.
You've got DC to DC converters, you've got inverters, power inverters on board, you've got computers everywhere. Like it's literally a rolling, I like to call it a rolling robot when you're dealing with Tesla, because now that they can drive themselves, it's like, what do you end up calling it, right? Like it's definitely a rolling server, computer server. Got all kinds of stuff going on inside of it. So it's like, it's pretty wild how far they've come.
Even with the scanner on the Top Don, with the newer cars, you can do all kinds of commands on it. Roll the windows up and down, honk the horn, start the car, rev it up, turn the fans on and off. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can command it to do. Imagine if, some cyber attack, you know what I mean? They take control of the cars, hack into them, start.
Hey, here's my wonderful conspiracy theory. You'll love this. Since I'm a little older than you, I'm like 15, maybe 15, 19 years older than you. My conspiracy theory is that a lot of the stuff that's built in Taiwan actually has some way to shut things down. All they got to do is flip a switch, right? Because if you're thinking about it, what would be the better way to completely cut a country off at the knees than just be able to shut everything off? It's better than an EMP. They could just say good night and click it and everything shuts down, right?
Yes.
It puts it in sleep mode. We'll probably have that stuff in our own jets and the battle units on top of the ships, the boats, right? There's a ton of things that could be going on pretty far under the surface that we never even know and don't even see.
There is a movie that I watched that had something like that.
That is a conspiracy theory.
It was
Sure.
kind of in line with what you're talking about. But the quickest way to destroy a country was step one was cut off all communication. So internet, phones, none of that worked. And then a way of
electricity,
introducing panic. Basically, they hacked into something to take away all the communication, left it for like a full 24 hours where everyone was already super on edge and anxious because they couldn't call anybody, had no idea what was happening. And then they hacked into all of the like major storm sirens and just made them go off for long time. They just were blaring. Right. And people immediately started freaking out. Chaos ensued, started fighting with each other, the whole rioting things. We were fighting amongst each other. You're basically taking an entire country and, it's destroying itself from the inside. That was the movie.
I think I mentioned on here before. Yeah, I think I mentioned on here before. I was telling Bob from RMS Diagnostics, like it don't take very much, and like we turned into World War Z.
Yeah,
like really fast because we don't realize how many people's going to die if you just took refrigeration away because of medication.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book out there that actually has a lot of those things in it. It's a story, but it actually has got real things put into that fiction story that like 36 hours into having your refrigeration down, like there's a lot of people that start dying at that point because they have to have medications that are refrigerated. So people have no idea of the carnage that could come from something like that, like an EMP strike or like shutting down all communication. Like you said, they're so interconnected now. Like if you rip that fabric apart, look at just what happened during COVID with them calling workers essential and non-essential.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how much of a rift it caused in society only because our own government did it. Like, hey, you got essential workers and you got non-essential workers now, right? And people were like, I remember seeing the Facebook posts. I think I had just gotten on Facebook just to promote my business. Is the only reason I got onto Facebook in the beginning, because I didn't have it. The only thing I think I had was Twitter. That was it. And that was only because I wanted to find out why everybody was pissed off all the time. Every time Trump would say something, I wanted to find out what he was actually saying.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to finally break down and get it. I'm going to go on there. And I went on there to find out that. And then a year later, they actually took him completely off of it. But I stayed for the memes because I love the memes. The memes are great. So I was like, well, I got on there because of Trump, but like I stayed because of the memes. The memes are, amazing.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up, on there and stayed on there. So speaking of that, would you say 10 years? And if you get your certifications, would you call somebody a master at that point?
I would say a minimum at least, yeah. I wouldn't consider anybody a master at anything unless they had at least 10 years experience in it. I mean, the whole point of being a master is, you think of the title itself. What does it really mean? I mean, in ancient times, you had a master of martial arts. You had a certain amount of their entire life dedicated to that thing, and you mastered that craft. To be a master technician, I think, is a pretty big deal. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm reading the book of 5 Rings right now. So it's funny that you would say that about martial arts, because I'm actually reading that. Currently, I am one of my former students allowed me to borrow it, and I'm reading it.
I'm a big fan of the history of Japan. Like,
yes,
I love looking at that and the way they handled their culture way back in the day.
Right.
I think that's really cool.
Tokyo's the largest populated city in the world as far as it goes by population.
Yeah.
Last I checked, anyways, a lot of people live there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you come to master, when you say the word master, right, it's like you were saying, 10 years. 10 years doesn't even sound like enough in many cases, but that's what we usually associate. That's what we usually associate with the word master.
Sorry to interrupt you. See your mouth moving.
Could you hear any of that? I'm just fucking with you, man.
I thought so.
I was gonna dub some Japanese in there because we were just talking about Japan. So at some point I'll dub some Japanese in that part of it. It'll be really good.
Nice.
I promise. So we were talking about master. It's like, I think in many cases, like some people die and never become a master of anything, right? Like their lives are in disarray, like everything's upside down, and they get all the way to the end and they have never mastered almost anything. So 10 years, if you can get really, really good at something in 10 years, you've done something quite impressive, if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have that question a lot from students. They ask in the industry, even if you're just going for ASEs, we'll call it just the baseline of, I can show the customer I have an ASE now. If you're going to try to get all 8, because 8 is what they require if you want to be a master, if you had to take all 8, if you're really good at taking tests, I tell them this a lot, you could probably become a master in a couple of years, because you can go there and take those tests. There's study guides that will get you in, and you can study really hard, and you can make master. However, are you a master at that point? And I don't feel like you are.
I mean, unless you can really perform that way on your own, then I don't think you are.
The competency's maybe not there yet because they don't have the experience behind the documents.
Right? I was a couple years in at the Ford dealership I was working at in the quick lane. I was considered one of the senior quick lube guys there, and they had just hired somebody that was straight out of college, went through the Ford FACT program, which is a specialty for Ford, and he also had 6 ASEs already. The very first day he showed up, I watched him pull a car in, rack it, and all it was in for was an oil change, and I watched him pull the drain plug on the transmission. So,
yeah. And you see that, right?
Yeah.
I've worked with guys that were, I worked at a place one time, guy was a master. He had L1 designation. This is back before they did auto and light diesel for A9. So he had all A1 through A8. He had L1, and he disappeared one day. I'd hired him to work on automobiles. I actually hired him to replace me. I'd moved to store manager at a place, and I hired him to replace me because he was really good with diagnostics, and I was their diag guy. He takes a vehicle on a test drive, and he's gone for like 45 minutes. And I'm like, I didn't have his phone number yet. Like, we just hired him. Like, I was doing stuff up front. I was the manager. I was the service manager. I was the assistant tire salesperson. I was the tire salesperson, right? So I was at a store like that where I was basically the guy up front. So I knew he was going for a while, but I didn't know exactly where. So I'm like, I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to try to call him. I'm not going to do any of that stuff yet. Well, he rolls back in. The car still has the issue. He already tried to fix it. He had went to his drug dealer's house to pay him off. I didn't even know that. Like, I had no idea until he come back, and then he told me that.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what the hell are you? Why would you even tell your manager that? Like, I know that you and I kind of grew up together and we knew each other and stuff, but like, you don't tell your manager that shit. So then I go and pop the hood on the vehicle, and it's running on 3 cylinders, and you can tell it's just a little Honda Civic. And I'm like, what all did you put on this? Well, we did a tune-up on it. We did this. And I'm like, okay. So I went and I took a can of brake cleaner and I sprayed along the injectors real lightly. And hell, it had an injector O-ring at the intake that was basically pinched and it was cut. Somebody had them out at some point and they were cut. One of them was cut. And I'm like, but your ASE master with L1 designation, how do you miss that kind of shit?
Yeah.
Right. And on the other hand, I've worked with guys who had no certifications at all, were really, really good at what they did, and they could basically fix damn near anything correctly the first time. So it's a double-edged sword, right? Yeah. I'm all for having vacation in the industry, but there has to be some kind of competency component added to it somewhere that you have to be able to prove yourself that you can do that job.
Absolutely. My favorite acronym is KISS.
Yeah. Keep it simple, stupid, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I use that a lot. I use that a lot at school too. I think I'm going to start using Brian Pollock's a little bit more too, RTFM, because that's a huge thing.
RTFM.
In this industry.
I haven't heard that one.
Man, it's free to be at me. So I'll cut that part out. I'll edit that. That'll be edited. But that's like, there's nobody that will go back and even look at theory and operation anymore. Like, that's how you know you fixed it. Like, you have to be able to, you got to be able to recreate what they're complaining about, what the concern is. They don't like using the word complaint no more. Now it's concern. And you have to be able to go in and find out, well, did I recreate the protocols that would make the code come back? We'll just use a code as in, for instance, right? It's like, what do you do? Like you mentioned earlier when we were speaking, it's like, if I take the vehicle out and I drive it and I don't look at pending codes and I look at nothing else, it's like all of a sudden the vehicle code comes back on and it's the same code. It's like, oh shit, I don't know. Right. But it's like, no, there's a protocol that you have to follow, and it's a 1-trip code, a 2-trip code, whatever it might be. But if you go and do that and you're watching for pending codes, you make sure that basically you're not putting the car back in the parking lot with it getting ready to hit the second key cycle, and the customer is just going to see the check engine light on before it ever leaves your place. That makes you look stupid.
Yep.
And I've been
100%.
there because I've done that. I've done that to a customer, and it's terrible. It makes you feel like you're like an inch tall.
Yep.
When that happens.
Yep.
But that's the thing. It's like, there's so many technicians, it seems like, that aren't doing the basic stuff like that. Not anymore. Looking at theory and operation, going for the test drive, like you talked about. The test drive is important before and after. There's some vehicles, if it looked pretty janky when I got in it as even a general service tech, I'd take it for a quick test spin around. We had a really short track that we used to use. It was about 1.5 miles long, had bumps, had curves, had all the stuff that you'd normally feel. Couldn't really go that fast. It was still in the city, but you could get a general feel for the vehicle before you ever lifted it. And I used to like to call that's my putting the robe on test drive. I'm covering my ass because I want to make sure that it doesn't have a wheel bearing noise. People get blind to the noise, right? Like, they're in the vehicle every day, so they don't really realize, they don't have a trained ear like a technician would. So all of a sudden they're driving this vehicle and like, it could have a howling wheel bearing and people just miss it. Or like,
never underestimate the test drive with the customer either.
Right. Well, it's important. It should be done that way, especially if it's for a noise. If it's for a noise, if they don't have time to ride in it, I don't have time to fix it. That's how I always
finding one specific noise amongst 10 noises is difficult.
Yeah, it's crazy. I used to always like the one with like the golf ball on the side of the door panel. Like, every time I hit the brakes, it like something rolls and it sounds like it hit something. I don't know what it is. And you get in the car and you look and it's like well, there's this little white ball over here in the passenger door. I don't know how it got there, but this is what's rolling and making noise,
I have
right?
had a couple of
And
those.
anybody could have possibly figured that out. They just never thought to even go look. Like, why would there be a golf ball in my door panel, right?
Yep. Or the old zip tie on the driveline.
We did one a long time ago to a guy where I worked at. He used to leave every day, and he had a Choo Choo Customs Chevy Silverado, and he had cut the exhaust off of it, and he put a test pipe where the cap was supposed to be at. Had 3-inch exhaust all the way out the back, both sides, so put true duals on it. And every day when he would leave, he would just stop the transmission. It had a 4L60E in it, and it's like 700. So he'd stop it. The first gear is just scream, right? So we're like, how the hell can we stop him from doing that kind of stuff? We did tires there also. We did wheel balancing. So one day I took about a half a roll of duct tape, and I put about 7 or 8 ounces of weights in a ball, and then I taped that ball to his drive shaft where it wouldn't hit nothing else. He stopped doing it because he got out into traffic and he didn't make it 10, 15 miles an hour before. He said it felt like the wheels were coming off the ground. He said that's how bad it shook. I was like, hey, everyone was pissed off because every day when you leave, you just stop your truck. And it's like, first off, it sounds like shit. Like there's no muffle, no resonate, no anything. It's like it was terrible. But secondly, it's like, man, it just, why would you do that? That's just dumb. So we did that to him one time. And he took a knife underneath of it, cut all of it off, and he come back in. He's like, my God, man. He's like, where the hell did you get all these weights at? I was like, I took almost all of them off the balancer. And I was like, I said, I think I counted it. I think there's about 6.5 ounces of weight.
Gosh.
I put a big handful of stuff on there. But yeah, but the pranks and stuff that happened at work was actually the camaraderie around the pranks was probably some of the most fun that you ever have at work.
Yeah.
So,
yep. Got to be careful what you're doing and who it's to, though. But yeah, yeah,
that's true. That's definitely true.
There was an ongoing prank amongst us, and we had recently hired a new guy. He was a veteran, and one of the things was, we would put an empty water bottle on the thing, and it would go boom right behind somebody. Yeah, didn't go well with him.
That was probably not the best one to do, to be honest. No. That's true. Now we used to have a thing where one of the places I worked at, couple of the places I worked at actually was like the Art Deco style 4, 5, and 6 bay garages, like the gas station garage combo. And the bathroom was on the side of it. So it was external, like on the outside of the building for customers. And then the employees could use it also. And we had a deal where almost every time somebody would go in there, somebody was walking out back with a couple firecrackers. They'd have whistling bottle rockets, because the bottom of the door had a gap in it. So whoever was in there, it didn't matter. They'd go back there and light stuff and toss it under the door at you and all kinds of stuff. And you're like, man, when are you guys going to grow up? Like no one ever grew up, right?
Yep.
One place I worked at, same place, we took the boss's son. When I say we, I mean 2 other coworkers there. He's about 15, 16. He's a wiry little son of a baby. He was pretty strong for his age. They took him out, put him up on a telephone pole and duct taped him to the pole one day. So the traffic would go by, they could see him hanging. He was literally stuck. Like with these arms behind his back, they taped him right to it. And he was about 2-3 feet off the ground. It was hilarious, man.
Wow.
But that's some of the stuff that happens in the industry, But like you said, you got to pick your mark well.
Yeah.
It can't be somebody that's not going to go along with the prank.
Right.
Like they're not going to be happy about it. You can't do that.
I'm not sure if it's just a male bonding thing, or if it's something in the industry. But I mean, I've learned that if somebody's not screwing with you, they don't like you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I actually teach that. I'm like, if they're not messing with you, if you guys aren't cutting up and joking and having fun, like that person may not like you. That's not 100%, of course, because everyone has their certain personality quirks and, little things, but you're 100% accurate. If they're not messing with you, they may not like you at all. So when the day is through, how does Zach unwind from a long day at work?
Oddly enough, this is kind of my happy place. I get way more wound up at home sometimes, especially with toddlers, young kids, or this is my happy area. This is where I come to relax, and I don't know. That's what I do. Yeah.
Was it always that way?
No, not really. I mean, the only place that I could really unwind listening to music or being out in the woods somewhere, fishing, something like that. That's kind of my serenity. I like that. Yeah.
Do you do much of that anymore?
No.
Or do you kind of hang there?
No, I haven't been fishing in quite a while. Been too busy.
Sure. Being busy is a good thing as long as you're making money doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, yes, one of the conversations I recently had with Lucas was that I need to really work on my work-life balance. Otherwise, I get burned out very quickly, and then I'm not going to want to do this anymore, or I'm not going to like it nearly as much.
Sure. Yeah, the automotive industry, I joke a lot, and I'll say that it's like a cruel mistress, right? It's fun at times, but sometimes it's like, man, it's rough.
Yeah,
It can get really rough, right?
absolutely.
So yeah, that's a smart thing. You definitely want to try to focus on making sure that you're not hating being there. Sounds like to me that you've got a pretty good layout right now.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. I need to quit taking the big jobs, because that's what eats me alive. Honestly, gives me the most stress having a car wrapped up here for one, an entire week, maybe two. Having
Exactly.
3 or 4 days that I, am fighting an issue that wasn't there before, and I'm scratching my head like, what if I can't figure this out? I have to figure this out. There is no can't. I have to. Okay, what do I do from here?
Exactly right. There's a kind of a little bit of a tension and an argument going on right now about being C-level technicians. What some people call them gravy techs, but in a lot of cases, it seems like they might have picked the right path. They may make even a lower dollar amount on the hour, but they stay busy. They got a lot of stuff to do, and the A tech or the diag tech sometimes doesn't make as much money, and they've got more training. They're A level. They've done it for longer, and then all of a sudden they get to that point where they might actually be master, but they're making less money than somebody that's next to them that's doing brakes and oil changes and the easier stuff all day long.
Yeah,
Alignments, ADAS.
absolutely. I can agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, you do it so many times because it's more common. Being a diag person is way more difficult. I mean, you're putting together a 10,000 piece puzzle that doesn't have all the pieces.
Sure, it can feel that way at times. You're exactly right.
It's like wrestling a bear sometimes. But I mean, that's the stuff you learn in your first year of doing this is oil change, brakes, suspension, swapping parts. If you do those fast enough, I mean, yeah, you can make time all day long. But there was a couple of times in my younger years, I made almost 25 hours in one day in less than 12 hours
Yes.
on a job. And that was great.
Yeah, that's turning and burning is what that
Yeah,
is.
that's
That
definitely
takes
a
quite a
young
bit.
man's game too. I can't keep up with that anymore.
I've had that happen one time. I've had some students ask me, like, what was your best day? I'm like, well, I had 25 or 26 hours flagged in one day, but that wasn't what I did that day.
Yeah.
That was because tickets from the previous day, like one or two, had been added on on the following day.
Mm-hmm.
I said, so it wasn't actually that much. I said, but I would say an average, a good day is like 12 or 14 hours if you could turn it. If the work was there, no politics, you're able to stay in your bay and do your job with your tools.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not always the easiest thing to do. A lot of stuff like that. The next question I've got is, what is Zach's legacy on this earth? What will people remember you and how will they remember you?
I thought a lot about that whenever we got into naming the shop. And it wasn't just about what I'm leaving behind for other people who may or may not remember me. I grew up a lot without a dad in my life. And when I became a dad in the first couple of years, I wrote down a couple of very hard questions that I really didn't know the answer to, and I went searching
Sure.
for other men who might know. That led me to a couple of really good friendships, but also a couple of different ways of answering that question, which number one was, what really is a man? What does it mean to be a man? And I take the kind of old school way at that. A man, what it means to be your man is you protect your family at all costs, no matter what it is. You love them unconditionally, no matter what they do. And your word is your bond. If you can't trust your word, then nothing you says has any valor. And that's also why I like, the Japanese thing. Honor was a word that was, I don't even have a way of describing it. You know what I mean? I want to teach my kids that for sure, because they're growing up to be young men, and I think the world needs more of that. Nobody's word really means anything
Very
anymore.
good. That's very true. That's very true. Well, that's probably a really good spot actually to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So Zach, it's been a pleasure to host you and to have you on the Dynamis Pod. Really glad that we got to have our conversation, and I hope that you continue in this field, and I wish you blessings upon your business.
Thank you.
And your family.
Yeah, you too.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.